Welcome to our unit on photosynthesis. That's section unit 2.9 of topic 2, molecular biology. Now, before we start, I want you to take a minute to think about these amazing structures. Now, you think they're rock, okay, but they are not. These are stromatolites, and they revolutionized life on Earth. These simple, single-cell photosynthetic organisms absolutely revolutionized life on Earth. But we'll get to that shortly. Okay, photosynthesis. Now, photosynthesis is the production of carbon compounds in cells using light energy. Photo, okay, light, synthesis, building compounds. The main photosynthetic pigment is chlorophyll, and this can be found in the chloroplasts, in the leaf cells, as you would know. Not just leaf cells, any green cells. Do they have to be green? That is the next thing we will find out. Okay, so there is an age-old argument with all scientists about which science is the most important. And being a biologist first, I say biology, of course, is the most important, and photosynthesis proves why. Because biology incorporates all the sciences. And let us see, first of all, how photosynthesis, or what photosynthesis has to do with physics. We're going to look at wavelengths of light. So visible light from the sun is composed of the full spectrum of colours, okay, from red right through to our violets. Each colour has its own unique wavelength. That's why we see them as different colours. Violet is the shortest wavelength and red is the longest. And in this rough graphic here, you can see how violet is much closer together in its peaks and troughs compared to red. Now, not all light is used by photosynthetic pigments. Mostly green is reflected and red and blue are absorbed more than other wavelengths. That's interesting. So, what you need to remember, and this is a part of the physics here, any colour that you see is because that colour is being reflected back to your eyes. So the reason that plants look green is because the plant is absorbing all the other wavelengths of light and reflecting the green back. The first stage of photosynthesis is the absorption of sunlight, okay, and this involves chemical substances called pigments. Now, pigments are colours that absorb light, and therefore they appear coloured to us. Now, there are many different pigments in organisms that absorb sunlight. Back. All right, so this plant here, okay, the flower is absorbing all the different colour lights except blue. The blue is being reflected back. So all the other wavelengths are being absorbed, but the blue is being reflected back, and that's why you see that blue. All right, chlorophyll. So chlorophyll absorbs all the colours of the spectrum except green and reflects the green back out, okay, and that's why plants appear green. So let's have a look at this graph here. Along the base here, we've got the wavelengths of light. Now, at different wavelengths, that's where the light appears. You can see light at the different colours. And we've got the percentage absorbed up the side. So which colour does chlorophyll absorb most? Now, we've got chlorophyll A, so alpha chlorophyll. So we've got two different types of chlorophyll that we're looking at, alpha and beta. Okay, so alpha chlorophyll, what colour does it absorb the most? So that would look like the violety blue, and then it peaks as well down at the red. If we're looking at chlorophyll B, beta chlorophyll, which colour does chlorophyll B absorb second most? So most would be your blue there, nearly to a little bit of green. Second most, ooh, those peaks are very close. I'd say it's there, that blue, but it could be referring to that red. I would need to get a ruler and be accurate in my measurement across the graph so I could be nice and precise in my answer there. Which colours are commonly not absorbed well by either chlorophyll? That would be green up to about orange. End of the yellow, the orange, where that is lowest on the graph. The ability for chlorophyll to absorb different wavelengths of light means the rate of photosynthesis will be affected by the wavelength or colour of light that it's exposed to. There is therefore a relationship between the absorption spectrum and the action spectrum. So absorption and action would be the amount of photosynthesis. The rate of photosynthesis that occurs at each wavelength. Okay, so the photosynthetic rate against the wavelength, and that's given us that action spectrum. So we have the highest photosynthetic rates in the violet blues and the orange reds. Just seeing those two compared together there. Alrighty, so see, I said physics had a lot to do with biology. Now I'm going to show you the chemistry involved. Alrighty, so photosynthesis. We need some raw materials. Okay, that's that carbon dioxide from the air and water from the soil. Carbon dioxide taken into the plant through the stoma, and the water absorbed through the roots, pulled up through the plants, remembering our cohesion and adhesion, helping that turgor, that pull of water up the plant. Now, the reaction of photosynthesis will only occur in the presence of chlorophyll and light. So both of those factors need to be present for photosynthesis to occur. Okay, then some of our two products of photosynthesis is the sugar and oxygen. Now, in photosynthesis, we've got two steps, okay? First of all is light dependent. So light is absorbed by the chlorophyll. The energy from the light is used to split the water molecule. Now, we call this photolysis. Okay, so light splitting, photolysis. Okay, so we've got H2O, and that forms our hydrogen ion and our oxygen molecule. The oxygen is released as a waste product from photosynthesis. All of the oxygen generated in photosynthesis comes from the photolysis of water. The hydrogen is taken to the next stage of photosynthesis. All right, step 2. Now this is light independent stage, so light isn't required here. The hydrogen arrives from step 1. Carbon dioxide is used. The carbon, oxygen and hydrogen are combined to make C6H12O6. That's our glucose. But the carbon and the oxygen here, so this oxygen is from the carbon dioxide, not from the water. The oxygen from the water has already been released. The production of this complex molecule requires energy to create those bonds. And remember, in our previous video, we said it was the energy in those bonds that was then used to convert the ADP to ATP in respiration. Okay, so we're going to have to look at the limiting factors of photosynthesis. So these are the factors that will affect the rate of reaction in photosynthesis. Those limiting factors are light intensity, carbon dioxide concentration, and temperature. Now, guess what? You're about to view some graphs, and these graphs are going to be quite familiar because photosynthesis is controlled by enzymes. Now, the shape of some of these graphs should be very familiar to you. All right, let's look at light intensities. We've got our light level along the horizontal axis and our rate of reaction up the vertical axis. Now, you'll note that it does not start from zero. There needs to be a given level of light before photosynthesis will occur. Below that level, there is no reaction. Now, at some point, all of the chlorophyll molecules will be saturated, full of energy, and the enzymes are working at their maximum rate, so there is no more possible increase from that point on. Okay, looking at carbon dioxide concentration now, and again, carbon dioxide, in terms of the level of carbon dioxide, it doesn't start from zero. We need that given level of CO2 present before photosynthesis can occur. Below that level, there's no reaction at all. Now, as carbon dioxide is the substrate for the reaction, the rate levels off once all the active sites are full. Okay, so once we've got all the carbon dioxide there that can be used, the reaction then levels off. All right, here's a classic graph here. So we've got our rates of reaction, we've got temperature. Now, this is a classic enzyme-driven reaction. Our enzymes will denature once that temperature is too high. So the rate increases with particle movement until the enzymes are denatured and the rate of reaction then collapses. All right, the rate of photosynthesis at different temperatures with different concentrations of carbon dioxide and light intensities. So the thing is with this, we've got three different variables here. Okay, so let's have a look. Experiment 2 at the bottom there, we've got 15 degrees. We've got atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration at 0.04%. Okay, our light intensity is increasing as we go along the horizontal axis, and our rate of photosynthesis as we go up the vertical axis. So in experiment 2, we can see that our rate of photosynthesis was pretty low there, whereas we can see that in experiment 3, okay, at 25 degrees with a relatively high carbon dioxide concentration, all right, our rate of photosynthesis was quite high, and that increased as the light intensity increased to a certain spot. Okay, so knowing what you know now about photosynthesis, how can you explain the trends in the changes to oxygen levels on Earth in its history? So if we look back over these billions of years, 3 billion years ago, okay, 3.8 to 3 billion years ago, there was no oxygen in the atmosphere. Okay, go to maybe 2.5 billion years ago. Okay, still no. So oxygen is being produced, but it's also being absorbed by the oceans and seabed rock. Okay, now in this section 3, O2 gas is being given out of the ocean and is absorbed by land surfaces. Now the green, oxygen sinks afield and O2 starts to accumulate in our atmosphere. We'll look in class as to why that actually occurred. However, stromatolites are created by cyanobacteria, also known as blue-green algae. These microscopic life forms are not really algae at all, but bacteria that have the ability to carry out photosynthesis. We'll learn more about this in class, but stromatolites are what allowed life on Earth to occur. Humbling to see them. Shark Bay, Western Australia. I advise that you go there. Thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.